Hello. Welcome to Three Happy Cats. I mean the THC Show.
Love that.
I think we got our sets mixed up here, Three Happy Cats and myself. I'm your host, Neil Magnuson. I've been doing this show we're in our 5th year now, and what we talk about in the THC Show is truth, hope, and change. All centered around THC, of course, because that's where we need the most truth, hope, and definitely change. Even today, with so-called legalization in Canada and movements to that effect around the world, we still need a lot of change in this legalization. That is for sure. We're coming up on 5 years now. Next week it'll be 5 years since the Liberal government in Canada made good on their promise to a degree. Did not make good on the promises on the campaign trail made by the Prime Minister himself, or the Prime Minister-to-be himself, about the availability of cannabis, about the pricing of cannabis, about the needs of the medical patients being addressed, where he said that the price of cannabis would put the underground market out of business, that the medical patients would have nothing to worry about. And yet if you read the Liberal website carefully, and you'd see that there was a number of differences in what he was saying and what was actually being talked about in the website. And the website was more about strictly regulating and protecting children and maintaining those same prohibitions of criminality against anybody that would dare to grow or provide cannabis outside of the new formed cartel. And so here we are, it's 5 years later. And, what does the whole legalization look like? Well, it looks a lot more like the Liberal website said that it was going to than what Trudeau said on the campaign trail. We don't have consumption lounges, for example. That is absolutely ludicrous and ridiculous on many different levels. It is a huge blow to a community that lives and thrives off of community itself, off of the ability to get together and to commune with each other. And to deny public consumption lounges really cuts off a lot of access that people would have to the other people in the community, where they could all have a place to meet, because they're not capable of meeting in the homes that they are. Or, why should they have to go to a park or some other place, especially when the weather's not good? Why can't they have the same as the alcohol people have, the same as the coffee people have, the same as ordinary, normal people should be able to have with respect to a place to consume the product that they're interested in consuming? And cannabis, like I said, probably is head and shoulders above those ones that we have, of the alcohol people and the coffee people, the dinner people. For getting together with community, the cannabis community was all about getting together. So to deny them lounges, the fight that the Cannabis Culture Lounge in Vancouver is having to go through, there's court coming up for them not too long down the road. There's nasty threats being put over them. And there's a way to get involved. I mean, they need letters written. There's a hearing before the Board of Variance that's coming up, and we need letters for that. You can go to the cannabisculture.com website, and you can get all of that information. There's links there to bring you to where the forms are that you can fill out or just sign if you want. But not just here in Vancouver with the Cannabis Culture Lounge, but all across Canada. The need for lounges is huge. And there's one aspect of legalization that just isn't there at this point. The worst one, of course, is the lack of low barrier access. So sure, you've got your connoisseur cannabis, and the problem is that the government's making sure that anybody that grows it is saddled with a huge amount of expenses in doing that. And those people that have wanted to, and are growing for the consumer market, they've always been, for the most part, pretty high end. Certainly that's what was in the dispensaries, and that's what the government's allowing in their dispensaries. There was some people that would have, much less expensive cannabis for sale, outdoor cannabis, hybrid greenhouse cannabis, cannabis priced where people could actually reach it from the lower ends of society. But with legalization, none of that is allowed. And so you either have the major dollars that you need to be able to go into those government stores or the stores that have licenses from governments and pay a huge dollar for your cannabis, which is effectively paying your fine right up front. So you no longer have to go through the hassle of being arrested and going to court and getting fined and then paying the fine. You just go and pay it as you buy the cannabis. During Prohibition, you were either paying it to the government when you got caught, or you were paying it to the dealers that had to make enough money to cover costs for lawyers and future incarceration and the possible loss of all of their belongings. And all of that stuff was built in to that $10 a gram that people would pay during Prohibition. And with legalization, it's still the same. The cannabis that's worth having, I will say that for $5 a gram, there's cannabis available even in government licensed stores. But the good stuff, and everybody wants the good stuff, is priced way higher than that. So, the poor people don't want to go in there and pay $5 a gram for inferior cannabis and feel like they're second or third class people. They're going to stay in the underground marketplace. They're going to get some pretty decent cannabis and pay somewhere around $5 to $10 a gram for it. But that's not what's supposed to be happening here. That's not what legalization was supposed to be all about. What we were fighting for with legalization was a free and open marketplace. And what we were fighting for was an end to the wasting of tax dollars. That was one of the biggest things, is how much money the government thinks it's okay to spend to try to keep people from using cannabis. And now they're still spending even more money than that on trying to keep people from using anything but the government's cartel cannabis. It's absurd. It's obscene. It's money that could be far better used for so many other things, especially at a time like this when our economy and the people within our society are suffering so badly. It's really terribly abhorrent that the government still thinks it's okay to waste the billions of dollars that they are on going after people that are growing outside of the cartel, prosecuting those people that they catch they're supplying for whatever reason. In our file here with the Cannabis Substitution Program, being charged with selling without a license, 2 years ago this coming March is when that all happened. We're still before the courts. I personally have had 16 court appearances. We're now headed for a full-on trial with a preliminary hearing lasting 3 days, and then a trial lasting 5 days to come after that. The Crown's information that they've had to give us, you get the stuff that they've done, what their case is about that thick. It's crazy how much money of our precious tax dollars is pouring into this case that they're trying to build against me and my comrades, or my compatriots, colleagues, because what we're doing is undercutting the government stores. Now, that's not what we're trying to do. I don't really care about the government stores. I don't care about that. I care that they're not allowing other stores, or even government stores, to carry cannabis grown by people who aren't subject to all of those restrictions and regulations and taxations that boosts the price of cannabis way out of reach from those people who really need it. And for those who really need it, we're talking about the medical users for the most part. People that require it to deal with their anxiety, their depression, their insomnia, their cancers, their so many other things that people are using it for. The people that have MS and people that suffer seizures and people that really need good quality, high dose cannabis, and they have to use it on such a regular basis that who could afford these prices that the government's insisting that people pay? So there's a lot that needs to be changed with the legalization of cannabis. Canada should be leading the way in this. We've been leading the way in the legalization movement for a long, long time. And the politicians in Canada really need to listen to the activists and not listen to the businessmen. The businessmen want to continue to have cannabis, an expensive commodity, only available to those people that have large amounts of money, and out of reach for the people that would really use it. The activists want to have cannabis available to all the people that could benefit from it. There's huge benefit to be had from cannabis. People that deal with insomnia and depression and anxiety and pain and the chronic illnesses like MS and epilepsy, those people suffer greatly. You can't imagine, if you're not there, what it's like to live a life where you have to suffer with these issues. And for our government to be taking nature's best remedy away from those people, to actively use tax dollars to prevent people from getting access is absurd, and in fact it's criminal. It's been going on for way too long. We've been fighting this fight against the immoral attempted prohibition of cannabis here in North America for many, many, many years. We almost had it done in the 70s. And then they got on this big fear campaign about, oh, what about the children? Yeah, well, the children are better served in a world that doesn't have prohibition, that's for sure. But they won the day back then. They had the resources. They had the people behind them that wanted to maintain the status quo. They still have all of that. We're still fighting this. This is not the legalization that the activists have been demanding for all the years that I've been involved. Not at all. It is an absolute abomination. It is a corporate takeover of the cannabis industry. A corporate takeover that eliminates and ignores those suffering people. The people that were first and foremost the center of the reasons and the motivations for the legalized cannabis movement by the activists. The government should not be in the cannabis business. They have no business in that business. They are exposing themselves for being a very corrupt entity every step of the way. And it's going to just keep getting worse from here. And they don't care. So we have to care. Government doesn't care that we know that they're corrupt. Government doesn't care that there's innocent people being harmed greatly because of government systems and policies that are designed to protect the rich and the elite. They don't care about that. So we have to care about that. If we're going to get them to change it, we have to find things that they care about and use that to get them to do the right thing. Hard to say what all that is yet. It's complicated for sure. We've spent years talking about it on Pot TV here. You can go to all the different shows that have been on over the course of decades of Pot TV and see all kinds of different strategies and things that have been proposed and used to try to continue to further the movement. We did a pretty good job of it. We got a major political party, although they weren't even opposition status at the time. The Liberals had been decimated prior to when Trudeau came along. But we got them to run on a platform of legalization where they said most of the right things on the campaign trail. They just didn't have it in their platform and their website, and then they didn't actually implement it when it came time. But this is because of efforts of activists over decades in educating the public and banging away from every angle we could think of to try to get those people in positions of influence in government to do the right thing. This is their answer to that. We had done such a great job of it that they had to have an answer for it, and they had to do something. So their answer was, let's give them legalization. We'll tell them we're giving them legalization. We can have legal cannabis that people can buy in stores as long as they're buying it off of us and we're the ones making the profit on it. And they can have cannabis on their person and not be considered a criminal. And that ought to knock the stuffing out of the movement. They gave us a legalization that works for all the prohibition players. But they didn't give us a legalization that works for the number one group that required legalization and that the activists had been fighting for. The daily medical users. So, onward we fight. And here we go. And we'll see what happens next, right? What else can I tell you about? Well, Kilroy, you know, the entire cannabis industry in Canada, since its 5-year-ago inception, has lost in excess of $20 billion. That's billion with a B. $20 billion have been lost. They can't find it. It was there, and now it's not there. Where did it go? Well, government took most of it, because that's the way they structured their legalization. The companies that sprung up to take advantage of legalization, most of them got their money from shareholders. Wasn't their money. Sound familiar? Sounds like government. They're not playing with their own money. So they spent a whack of money on all kinds of different things. You know, you got to have new cars, you got to have a fleet of trucks, you got to buy some new greenhouses, you got to buy property, of course, and on it went. They spent like drunken sailors because it wasn't their money in the first place. And that money disappeared. Well, it didn't really disappear. It's not that they really don't know where it went. You can see where it all went. It went to all the friends and insiders and car dealers and businesses that, you know, got things purchased with it. The people that sold their property to the licensed producers and all. Those people all got tons of money. And as I said, the government gets most of it. And that money disappears. That's for sure. You don't know where that money goes. What does the federal government do with all this money that it takes in? I'd really like to know. 4:19. Perfect time of the day to stop a nasty rant. I think that's the whole idea of 420. So you got a minute, and I got a minute. Roll them or fill your pipe or load your dab rig or heat shit up, whatever you got to do. And for me, I'll just say that this legalization makes no sense if you're looking at it from the point of view that government is there to serve the people and to provide that which the people need and to provide an easy route of access to that which the people need. That if that's what government is supposed to be for, then this legalization with the Cannabis Act makes no sense. But when you look at $20 billion that was not disappeared, it was diverted from some people to some other people. But it wasn't there for the profits where it was supposed to be, because that's the way it was designed. Then this legalization makes no sense. It just makes money for a bunch of people who really don't deserve it. And it's taking that money away from people who really do need it. And that's you and me, the medical users in Canada, and all of us as individual citizens in Canada. And I think it's 420 now. Oh, look at that. It must be, because Mr. Wells is here.
Hey, yeah.
How are you doing?
Good.
I didn't even promo you at the beginning of the show.
No, Sir Well, yeah, just forget about me.
You're still on the Sir thing, right?
Sir, right,
I think it makes me sound too old.
Sir?
Yeah, it makes me sound too old. I don't like that, so I'm not going
Happy 420, Alex.
Happy 420,
Happy
everybody.
420, everybody. Yeah,
Okay.
you got them, smoke them, let's do it.
Show my colors here.
Yeah, I took my black sweater on because we've been doing black and black.
We've been doing the twin thing.
So,
There we go.
because here's mine right here. Right, but I figured that, you know, it would be too much black for Annie. Hey, she's just a viewer. All right. So you're doing a rant, were you?
I'm always ranting.
After all these years,
I'm never happy about this.
Uh,
You know what makes me most unhappy? Is I can't figure out the best rant. If I could get the perfect rant,
the perfect rant?
it should change everything. It could be turned into a meme. It could go viral.
Okay.
And then, maybe the world would change. You saw that that little award-winning clip, that 2-minute award-winning clip, eh?
Yeah. You could show
that
it on
was
your
something.
phone.
Well, I don't know if we can.
All right.
I was just going to say what it was.
Okay.
It's about a little boy who's lost in a world of people who won't stop looking at their phones.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all, everything they do, they're looking at their phones. They're out on a date, they're each looking at their phones. They're having dinner, they're looking at their phones. They're taking pictures of their dinner. They're taking selfies. They're taking selfies of buildings on fire. They're taking buildings of the world burning.
Yeah.
And the little boy, and then there's a little girl after that, and they don't have these cell phones, and they don't understand what's going on, and they just want to get somebody's attention, and they try tugging on people's shirts, and, but the people are lost in their phones. And there's a scene at the end there where all of these millions of people are just mindlessly walking, looking into their phone, and they're going over the cliff like a bunch of lemmings. They're just being pushed over the cliff. So anyway, I thought it's interesting.
But that first scene of it being in the subway and everybody's looking at getting their information, that just reminds me of the old days when people would have their papers in front of them, the newspapers, right? You could have somebody being robbed, you wouldn't know because you had your face in the newspaper, right?
There were certainly some people that were oblivious, but it's not. It's not to the level.
There were a lot of newspapers.
It's not like the level that it is today.
No, because phones are more available, I guess, than all that newspaper was back then. So
they are highly addictive. Once you start using your phone, it's hard to live without it.
Uh-huh.
If you're used to having it, boy, go a day without it. See how that works for you. It's really, really hard.
Alex says you should be on the hill ranting. Live from Ottawa, it's Neil Magnuson.
This video streams anywhere and everywhere. You could easily set up a big TV screen on the hill.
Yeah,
and
one of those blow-up ones. Yeah,
sure. and give them a couple hours of THC every week.
All right, so should we start saving for that? I'll drive out to Ottawa sometime and we'll do a show out there.
I don't know.
That'd be great.
Do I want to go viral?
Oh, yes.
I do.
You do.
Because I don't care about if I live any longer or not. They'll probably kill me if I actually did do
something
like that.
Alex is saying yes.
I'm trying. I'm trying to say the right things the right way. I don't know.
We can have you with a megaphone yelling at Ottawa.
Oh, I've been there.
Right? What are we doing?
I've been there. I've done that. I've done lots of things there. Ottawa. So Dolph had their funding pulled.
Oh, yes.
So the Drug Users Liberation Front that was given $200,000 by Coastal Health has had their funding pulled because Lordy, apparently they're also a dispensary. I hesitate to use that word, but that's the word that they're using. But they're a dispensary for these hard substances. And so what Dolph was doing was purchasing fentanyl and crack cocaine and heroin and crystal meth off of the dark web and then testing it themselves in-house and providing it at no profit to their members. So even though they say they were not using that $200,000 for purchasing those drugs,
it freed up other money for them.
It didn't fly with the particular provincial authorities that were looking into it.
Yeah. And
so they've been ordered, the Coastal Health has been ordered to revoke that
$200,000
grant. Yeah.
So it means you don't get it next year, right?
No, it means they probably won't get it next year, although they can probably reapply, and maybe they can change, maybe they can separate what they're doing one from the other, and they can still buy a bunch of harm reduction stuff.
Like if they could show office rent receipts that the money went towards that, an office space, right? But that still frees up money in the organization to buy drugs from the dark web, so people could still...
Well, I guess there's $200,000 floating around out there that they could use for something if they wanted to for harm reduction.
Yeah.
Why not here? I'm told, I've asked for a meeting with Coastal Health. I think that we should talk. I thought that when they gave the first $200,000, and I'm not even looking for money. Money would be great. Boy, I'll tell you, we could really put that to good use. We help a lot of people here. We could help a lot more. But
new RV.
I just want... No, I wouldn't.
That's a big bus style. Rock and roll.
You are talking to the wrong guy.
I know.
I am not a licensed producer with our stocks going out on the public realm. We will not ever, as long as I have anything to do with it, have luxury items for ourselves while the people that are in poverty, are coming to us for help.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't want a new fancy shiny RV. That's money much better spent on helping
we could
people.
Have maybe one that has the CSP and some showers, because there's a lot of those shower ones that are out there right now where we can provide showers to certain people. And
because of the nature of our business, we can't have a bunch of people coming in and out of the RV.
Oh yeah.
Were we to finally get some credibility from government, some permission of whatever sort, piece of paper with a signature on it, something like that. We have many plans for community showers, for community dentistry, for all sorts of meal programs, for all sorts of rehab programs. We would like to set up cannabis-friendly rehab places and houses for people. Lots and lots and lots of different plans that we have. But we've been held in limbo by a corrupt government for over 3 years now that thinks it's okay to provide $200,000 to a small group of hard drug advocates to, get them offices and get them vehicles and get them other things to be able to help people. So they're willing to provide $200,000 in the tax dollars that they have to this group, whereas what we're doing, I think, can easily be said is a far better harm reduction model than what Dolph has.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We're actually getting people off of those hard drugs. We've got almost 300 members that have successfully gotten off of hard drugs and beat their addiction. And all of them are using high-dose edibles to do that. And so we have this is our method, this is our model, and we've demonstrated it for almost 7 years. We have all of the support of those other harm reduction groups. Dolph supports us. We just went on a march about such things, recently, where I got the microphone. I get to speak. They've asked me to speak at every one of these things. They talk about what we're doing here. They will tell you, any one of those people at Dolph, any one of those people at Van Du, any one of the other people involved in harm reduction, that we are the real deal here when it comes to harm reduction. We're the ones that are really thinking about getting people off of those drugs instead of just helping those people maintain their addiction in a safer way.
Dolph is just taking the government's program or their view of providing safer drugs, right?
Well, Dolph has been advocating for a safe supply through Van Du. There are people that are
that's what the government wants you to do. They don't want you
the government doesn't necessarily want you to do that, but the government is saying that they're toying with safe supply. That's why they've allowed people to have a personal amount with them. That doesn't get a safe supply, by the way. That means that people that qualify to be able to have those 2.5 grams of any of those hard powders can get it through the government safely. Doesn't mean they're going to all get it there. Doesn't mean some of them aren't going to continue to buy off the dealers they've been buying off of. The thing out there in the world right now is that because there's this tainted and poisoned drug supply, there's a whole bunch of dealers that are saying, oh no, we're better than that.
Yeah.
You deal with us, we'll make sure you get a safe supply.
Yeah.
And that's all well and good, but none of that is solving the issue of addiction.
No.
Of people having to put out money every day to continue a habit that they can't stop, that they don't want. None of that solves any of that. It just keeps that money coming out of them, going to these different places. And they need these people to be addicted and to keep putting the money in for them to all keep surviving. And that's not what we're doing. That's not who we are. And so, we'll...
I heard the Salvation Army, they were on the news. They say that it takes a year for somebody to get off the hard drugs. It's a year of treatment, and then there's some housing and stuff. You can do it in a week.
Well,
why? But so
you can stop the habit. You can stop the habit in a week.
Yeah.
But there's a year's worth of replacing your habits.
Yes.
Finding new friends.
Yes.
Housing is super important, and it takes a little while sometimes. Getting out of the area that triggers you, all of those sorts of things do take some time.
Yeah.
But that first step is maybe the first step is to have some housing in place. Maybe the first step is to be able to get out of the neighborhood. I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
But when you
Well,
decide,
these people that you have not got out of the neighborhood, and
some of them
have some.
I
some
deliver to
have.
some people who don't want to come back in the neighborhood because it triggers them.
It triggers them.
Mhm.
Okay, all right.
Some people just get out. Some
Yeah.
people's families get them out.
Yeah.
You know, but when you decide that, well, you've got to stop using these drugs, especially if you're going to get out of the neighborhood. Now, where are you going to get them from without coming back into the neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
So and you don't want to establish
That's
new
where you
supply
go and
where you
deliver.
go. So you want to get off that stuff and then have a plan.
Yeah.
But the first step to getting off is getting through withdrawal. That's
Yes.
the big one.
And that's where the high dose edibles come in.
Well, yeah, we have a solution for that
Yeah.
beats any other
Well,
solution.
tell the people because they can help out other people.
Well, that's what we're
too.
saying. High dose edibles gets you through withdrawal.
Yeah.
You know, it's not 100% for everybody. Withdrawal
No.
is different for everybody. I believe that if people approach it the right way, if they start out low and they go slow to find the right dose, that without question, well, okay, I can't say that either because maybe there's some people that have allergic reactions to cannabis. For the vast majority of people, that at least is an assist in making it less difficult to get through the withdrawal. How much of an assist it is depends a bit on the dosage you take, depends on some other factors. We've got 270 people that made it through using high dose edibles of varying different dosages for them. You can get through just sleeping, basically.
Yeah.
We've had that as well. You basically slept through 4 or 5 days of what would otherwise have been misery, but was totally blunted by the edibles. You
Yeah.
know?
And eating. Edibles and eating, right?
Yeah, and edibles is eating too.
Yes,
you know?
it is
So
eating.
it
Jen
satisfies.
Bennett came on and said hi.
Hi, Jen.
We haven't seen Jen in
Jen moved away. They
I
moved
know
out
she's
into the
in Alberta.
country.
Yeah, she's out in Alberta.
How's that going out there? You know, let Glenn know. He reads that. Okay?
Yeah, well, yeah, of course. And Douglas was out there. He said hi to us too.
I should be. Yeah, I wish maybe we could have the big chat here, but then I'd be so distracted. You know?
Oh no, I can read for you.
That's
You
how it
answer.
works.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Right? Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
You keep me up to date. You keep looking at it a little bit, and then you can
Yeah.
tell me this and that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But for the rest of you out there who comment to me on there, thank you very much. I love you all. I appreciate so many of your comments.
Without you
I'm sorry,
people, there would be no show.
I don't look at the comments coming through during the show because I have a hard enough time keeping my brain focused as it is.
Yeah.
And after the show, I really just don't have time. You know?
If you want Neil to see your comment, tag him. And then it's sponsored.
I don't go back and watch the show.
Oh, thank you, Alex.
I don't go back and review the comments most of the time. Sometimes I intend to do it, at least look at the comments, but I almost never find the time. There's so much going on around me all the time here.
Yeah. It is.
Because I'm working on a project.
Are you?
Yeah.
Oh.
I got this mission, you know.
Oh.
Same mission I've always had.
A mission and mission.
Well, for 25 years anyway, it's
Yeah.
the same mission.
I miss all the old shows.
And it should be done by now.
Yeah.
It should all be over a long time ago. You shouldn't
Yeah.
have to be still doing this.
Nope.
You shouldn't need some old guy like me to sit here and have a show on Pot TV to educate people about what's right and wrong in this world with respect to cannabis. It should have been over a long time ago.
Yeah.
It's ludicrous.
But still, thank you to the government for allowing us to do this.
No. No, the government's the reason I'm not retired.
I know. Wow, you were retired. Would you be retired?
Hell yeah.
Where would you be doing?
I'd be somewhere peaceful.
Somewhere peaceful.
I'd maybe
I'd be on a mountain.
I like to travel in Canada at a very easy, slow pace.
Yes.
So I'd probably do some of that. You
Okay.
know, I wouldn't mind having a little place. I don't need anything
So
luxurious, but I wouldn't mind having a little
e-bike.
place that's a little bit out in the country. Let's buy some water not too far away. You know, maybe do some fishing.
Yeah. So you get yourself an e-bike. That'd be nice and slow enough because you have to
No.
stop and charge every so
No,
often.
the bike doesn't do it for me.
No?
I gotta have my stuff.
Gotta have your stuff?
Always.
Oh, okay. All right.
Unless I could pull a trailer behind the
You
e-bike.
probably could.
Yeah, I probably could put a little
Probably could.
motorhome.
Yeah.
Yeah, on an e-bike, towing a motorhome.
Tow the motorhome. I do not think so. You have like 5 minutes of battery power, and every 5 minutes you have to charge it up.
Well, it depends if you're going uphill or downhill.
Yeah, I know.
If you stay in the prairies, then you could probably figure
I
it out.
could see more of those, like those round campers that they have, those little round ones.
The bowlers.
Yes. Put that behind your bike. Now,
I'm
now
very
there you
familiar
go.
with the
now
bowler.
You got your shelter, you got your wheels.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And those things have solar
yeah.
power, don't they? They have solar
Well,
power.
not they didn't
sometimes.
used to.
But I've
The
seen
bowlers go way back. I think they might still be making new ones.
Yeah, I think I've seen some with solar power on top.
Yeah, I'm
of them,
sure,
right?
and you can always retrofit whatever after the fact.
That'd be nice, right?
I drove across Canada with a bowler trailer.
Oh, cool.
Not with an e-bike.
No.
No, we had the Toyota Corolla, I think.
Yeah, that's what I have.
Yeah,
Toyota
that's
Corolla.
right. Yeah,
but not
mine was older. Yeah, a lot older than yours. Not fancy.
Yeah,
it was nice. It was a decent car. But my wife and the 2 little kids and a bowler trailer, orange bowler trailer. So we felt like we were celebrating Halloween all weekend.
Pumpkin trailer.
Yeah, pumpkin. It was fun. They're cool little trailers for sure.
Did you see? Oh, you didn't see that. But today, the world record for largest pumpkin may have
2,200 pounds.
No,
what?
There's a guy in the States, 27.
Oh my!
14.
Wait, no, is that the guy in California?
No, so the guy that you're
the guy they interviewed last night on CKNW didn't win.
The guy that you're thinking of is from BC, from
maybe
Richmond. Oh. He won a Canadian one, which is 2,200 pounds. Oh. But the record is 2,700 pounds, I believe. And this guy beat it by 64 pounds or 60. He won $30,000.
Wow.
For growing the largest.
It's a thing.
And then once Guinness confirms it, he may have the record also of having the world's heaviest.
So then do they? And they sell these things, like these great. They sell them, yeah. I heard the interview with the farmer yesterday.
In Mississippi got inside of a pumpkin and had to. There's a world record of being able to cross 130 kilometers inside a pumpkin paddling. So he was out there in Kansas or Mississippi.
Wow,
they were doing that too, right?
So are they able to take the seeds from this big pumpkin?
I would think so.
And regrow other massive pumpkins with it? Is it genetics?
That's what I was thinking, right? Because our friend Sterling just came up with a big, huge carrot.
Mind you, who wants to grow a 2,200 pound pumpkin? What the heck are you going to do with that?
Wow.
How are you going to deal with something like that?
Pie.
That's a lot of pie. You just became a pie company.
Sterling just grew a big, huge carrot.
Oh, yeah?
Did you see that?
No.
It was like he was holding up to his arm and everything. It was huge. I was like, we should just try to save the seeds from that and see if we can grow.
Well, more huge carrots.
Grow.
I'm not sure huge carrots are convenient. I'm not sure huge pumpkins are convenient.
Oh.
They're fun to look at.
See, I know a couple of bears in Mission that they would disagree with you because some bears attacked some ladies displaying in Mission, and they caught them. And you could see this bear putting his head right inside the pumpkin and mowing out the inside and everything. Right?
Wouldn't that be hilarious? Huh?
Yeah.
The bottom of the big pumpkin is rotted out.
Yeah.
The bear takes the pumpkin, holds it up, and sees that that's the soft part to start munching on. Starts munching on it. It falls down onto his head, and now he's running around on 2 hind legs with a pumpkin on his head, trying to figure out where he's going, scaring all the townspeople. Look for it at a theater near you coming up in the near future.
Thank you, John.
And not to mention the bear was probably high on cocaine at the time because bears.
Oh, that cocaine bear story? That is apparently a true story.
Is it a true story?
Yes, apparently they dramatized it for the movies, but yeah, that was apparently a true story. That's unbearable.
That's totally unbearable.
A bear on cocaine?
Yeah, a bear on cocaine. What's he doing with the cocaine? I guess if the bear wants your cocaine, you give him your cocaine.
It was tossed out or something, and then to be picked up, and a bear apparently picked it up instead. Wow.
Watch out for cocaine, whether you're a bear or anybody else. That stuff can be dangerous.
It can be.
Lots of things can be dangerous. Alcohol certainly can be dangerous. Cigarettes are dangerous. So white sugar is dangerous. All these things are dangerous. You know what's not dangerous, really? Psychedelic mushrooms.
Sleeping.
So I'll give you that, but I'm talking about a thing that you would consume. All these other consumables are relatively dangerous, but the psychedelic mushrooms, the psilocybin mushrooms, not really.
Why not?
Not so much.
If you're hallucinating and don't know what you're doing and you happen to step into traffic or something...
Have you done mushrooms?
Yeah.
You're not going to hallucinate and walk into traffic.
Well, I know some people that do like 7 grams.
And do they walk into traffic?
I don't know.
No, they don't. No, they don't. No, they don't. I'm not saying you couldn't,
Yeah, it can.
But if somebody's taken 7 grams of mushrooms, they know they're taking 7 grams of mushrooms for the most part.
Yeah.
They've already taken lesser amounts before that, probably. They understand.
Cannabis.
They understand there's some parameters to that. Like, you probably don't drive an automobile, but
Yeah.
you know, the evidence is that we don't have a lot of people that are driving automobiles high on mushrooms and having accidents. That's just not a thing, because people typically don't do that, right? They find a scene and a setting that works for them. And driving an automobile on mushrooms is not a fun thing to do, you know, for the most part.
Somebody just told me a story. They're a photographer, and they were high on mushrooms, and they got stuck. So they got so high that they got stuck in a loop. The hallucination was dropping the camera, picking it up, and putting it try to put it back together. But then it would repeat. So
Right.
you can hurt yourself.
And how long did that go on for?
Until you came down.
Right. So
Right.
you can have a bad trip on mushrooms.
Yeah.
And
His camera was totally destroyed. It was total because it had been dropped, but it was a repeat of this hallucination over and over and over and over again.
I'm not saying every mushroom trip is going to be good at all.
Yeah.
I was just trying to segue into the fact that there's a lot of mushroom stores that are available, all across North America. Certainly on the West Coast, in Toronto.
I've never even heard of names. Like, I was in there, I was like, wow, so many names and stuff of different mushrooms.
There's one franchise in Ontario that has 14 locations. They're bold. Their signs are up. They're not trying to hide anything.
Mm-hmm.
They know that what they're doing is giving people access to something that helps a lot of people, and that the government is wrong for trying to prohibit. But at the same time, it is still illegal, and we're going to see what happens with all that. On December 6th, the Mushroom Dispensary in Vancouver here is going before, I think it's the Board of Variance.
Yes,
that they're
the
going
Board of
before.
Variance, yep.
So they could use support, people in person, people with written submissions, all those sorts of things. If mushrooms have helped you in some way, if you've had positive experiences with the access to psilocybin mushrooms or psychedelic mushrooms, then please help. I mean, that's all I can say is, let's all help each other on this, and we all need to help each other on all these fronts. And certainly having some regular, easy access to mushrooms is a benefit to most people for sure. Mm-hmm. And any side effects are minimal and easily mitigated. And there's probably nothing in this world that doesn't have some potential for negative side effects, depending. But certainly mushrooms are not something that should be prohibited from adults to be able to access. That's just an abysmal affront to your sovereignty as a human being. You are born here on this planet. The plants, the cacti, the living other things on this planet are all part of our environment. They all don't belong to anybody, but us. And especially in the form of magical mushrooms, which have been used for thousands of years, which has a great track record of very few people ever being injured in any significant way with respect to those mushrooms. And they grow wild, up and down the boulevards and all over the place.
A lot of places and find them.
Yeah.
Actually, they've now found out that mushrooms can even help the earth. So,
of course.
The Skeena River, they have the CN tracks there, and they're replacing the ties, and that wood has creosote in it. And that creosote sits there and is now going into the river and polluting the river.
Creosote is bad.
But they went, so they took some of this creosote and they put them in the petri dishes and they put some fungi stuff on top of it, and it changed
the mycelium.
It changed the creosote into something that wasn't going to be harmful anymore for the environment, and they're now going to put it out in there, but they're waiting for CN's permission. But they found that this one species of mushroom can turn it all around. Right? And then the fish grow.
Yeah, they're amazing.
Yeah. And, it doesn't have to just be mountain. Well, I guess it's kind of magical that way too.
They can feed you. They can provide you with a spiritual experience. Yeah. And they can kill you. There's thousands and thousands of different varieties of mushrooms.
1.5 million
varieties of mushrooms.
And we only know about 10% of them.
So don't go randomly out there chewing on mushrooms.
I learned that on the new reality this weekend. So
there needs to be some guidance with respect to that.
But there's an app on your phone that you get. It's called for mushrooms, and you just put the mushroom in your viewfinder and hit the button, and it tells you what it is.
Yeah.
So there's no reason that if you've got a phone that you should be poisoned, because you can just download this app.
If what you're doing is going out there and randomly trying to find mushrooms to eat,
wow,
and some people do.
I went for a walk and we found 5 different kinds.
I usually find a restaurant before I start munching on mushrooms on the side of the road.
North Fraser Road and walk down there, and there's a whole bunch of mushrooms there.
We were finding some the other day, some really amazing looking mushrooms growing out of different structures, in the city here. I said, those are urban mushrooms.
Yeah, there were ones with the dots on them and stuff like that.
Oh, there was a whole bunch of them.
Was there? Nice, yes. Mother Nature remedies should
There's tree stumps, they've cut down different trees. And, but, they don't prohibit the ones that'll kill you, okay? So you won't find that there's a criminal offense
because
for having
a pharmaceutical company can sell you something to save your life. So of course not.
So yeah, but the government hasn't decided. Well, these ones are dangerous, like they're literally dangerous, and they can kill people if they eat them. And we're going to put them on a prohibited list and tell people they can't have them. That might make some sense. Although there again, you probably get some young people who just don't, or some people who don't trust government who say, I don't fucking believe that. And they do it just because they're told they can't. There might be a little bit of that going on. But if it was a reasonable, logical world, you would get some guidance from the government. It wouldn't be in the form of prohibition, of course, because that doesn't work. That's what I mean. That inspires people to try it. But in some guidance, some, easy to understand. Well, now you've got it. Like you say, you just answered my question before I even got to it. I didn't realize you were answering the question.
Right.
We've all got it in our hands. Right. Take a picture of the damn thing. Then you know what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
Is it or isn't it?
You can even use Google. Google has a little camera thing. You just use that camera, and then you put it in there, and then you hit search, and then it'll tell you exactly what you're looking at.
Right. So but the efforts of government are not to protect people from the ones that are dangerous, that are going to kill you. The efforts of government, with taxpayer money, is to prevent you from having access to the ones that will give you some type of a psychological experience.
But always bring your mushroom book with you, because if you're out in the middle of the forest, you may not have any Wi-Fi or data to use your program on.
Memorize the damn thing. Why not?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Oh yes, so definitely.
But no, the point here is that as we continue, every once in a while we make points. We try to do that. Hopefully by the end of the show we've made several points. This one is that when you look at the efforts of government to try to keep people from having access, it's not about protecting people from dangerous, in this case, mushrooms. Mm-hmm. It's about protecting people from, or at least keeping people from accessing those that would give you some sort of a psychological, psychedelic experience.
Alex says there's even frogs that'll kill you, right?
I'm sure.
They touch their backs.
They're very big.
Yeah, no, but there's some.
Oh, not those ones.
Yeah, I think there's a frog that if you touch its back or something.
There's a chemical on some frogs' backs that is DMT.
That's DMT.
It's DMT.
Oh wow, eh?
Yeah.
Oh.
And there's probably 1.5.
That's why frogs always want you to rub it.
Do they? I see. Rub it. That's what they're saying. Oh, I thought they were saying that. That'd help the poor critters out. Why not?
Rub it.
I didn't realize that's what they were trying to say.
Rivet, right?
There's probably 1.5 million, different types of frogs too.
I don't know.
One for every mushroom.
Yeah,
something like that. There's
from
a lot
the
of
show on Global, it was called New Reality. Sophie Louis was doing the thing on mushrooms. Yes, so 1.5 million.
Right, and I'm just saying there's a lot of frogs out there too, and maybe some of them have poison excretions.
Paul, there's some guy that's really famous in the mushroom world.
Paul Stamets.
Yeah, they had him on.
Well, I saw that.
Well, you saw
I saw that because you shared that.
Yes,
I did watch all of it.
Oh, you watched that.
I watched it, and I've met Paul.
Yeah, okay, yes.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a really good report there.
Yeah, that's where I learned what I'm talking about. Yeah, that's good.
Beware of the corporatization of anything. Beware of the corporatization of nature, first and foremost. And the corporatization threat to do with mushrooms would be that the pharmaceutical industry would control completely which mushrooms you can have, how much, what the dose, all the rest of it, and anything else remains illegal to protect those interests. And it's not right, and that's what could be coming next. It's already illegal, but here comes the battle, right? Because the government has just maintained that illegality for a long time without much enforcement on it. There's not been much enforcement on people having mushrooms. You don't hear a lot of people getting busted for mushrooms. They're much more focused on weed and cannabis because the value of cannabis in the past. And now
so much weed.
We've got all these stores that are popping up. We've got a lot of studies coming in which back up the stores every step of the way.
And they're allowing people...
And so we'll see what happens. Are they going to change the law? Are they going to make it so people aren't criminal for having mushrooms that don't come from pharmaceutical companies?
And they're allowing terminal patients to use them to handle the thought of knowing that they're going to be dying and stuff like that, which has really helped that lady here in Canada.
Dosed. If you watch the movie Dosed 2,
the
second one, the first one was on fentanyl. The second one was on a woman who was using cannabis and mushrooms, or at least came to be able to use those through doctors and friends. And she was a totally straight-laced religious woman that got cancer and was going to die, and was all concerned about her family first and foremost. And they ended up allowing her, the federal government in Canada allowed her to have access to mushrooms. So under the guidance of doctors, and actually with the help of some friends of ours that provided these things, they allowed her to have this experience that caused her to not be concerned about the family, that they were going to be fine.
Depression and stuff like that.
And so she was freed from that.
Yes.
And then she had a second trip because now her focus had become herself. Well, what about her? She's going to die, And
I don't want to die. The world what I've learned.
It's natural to have all those fears about dying, and especially it's a very scary thing for a lot of people. And so her next trip was devoted to contemplating those issues, and she came out of that as well. And she was also then using high dose cannabis oil, the FECO, the full extract cannabis oil. Her cancer went into remission. She had numerous surgeries. There's, a lot to the story, but she's still alive. She's doing fine. She's healthy as she's ever been. Her cancer's in remission.
Well, they say that magic mushrooms create new neural pathways, and that's why they help with depression and certain mental health issues, because it's creating new neural pathways. But
they use the word reset.
You can't just do it and have it. You have to be working on your problem while you're on the mushrooms in order for your brain to create that new neural pathway. So
probably if you're suffering in some way, you're going to be targeting that. In your desire to have the experience, you're going to be using these because you want to, alleviate some of the suffering. So you're going into it with the right mindset to begin with. Even if you didn't, there's a good chance that your brain or your mind is going to take that influx of chemical reactions that's going on and use it for that. Because basically, we do want to get better. We are beings that heal. We get injured and we heal. Be it physically, be it emotionally, we get injured and we find ways to heal, or at least we're usually seeking that. In fact, that is the natural order of things. If you look at neuro-linguistic programming, you'll see that the way that they collapse people's fears and their phobias is by first tagging the phobia with some sort of a physical or something. So I guess I better do a better job of explaining this. We covered it in one of the previous episodes quite a bit. But if you're a phobic person and you have fears and anxieties about things, that represents itself in all of your different senses. So a therapist who's using neuro-linguistic programming would get you to go into a state where you're accessing those fears. So, and they want to know, how do you feel? What are you thinking? What are you saying to yourself? What are you seeing in your visual interior and outside? All this stuff. And it became the staple for therapists throughout at least North America, beyond that, of course. And so every time that they get the person to access the memory of what that phobia is represented by that particular output and input, they tag it. So maybe they would go... So they'd say, so what are you seeing in your mind when you're thinking about what happened? And the person, they watch the eyes defocus and shift, and then when that's happening, they go like that, or ring a little bell, or touch the person on the elbow, or there's a variety of different things you can associate it with.
EMDR, like clap.
Whatever. So you associate that accessing of that particular experience with whatever that is that you're associating it with. and then you can clap or whatever, and you can bring back that full phobia.
Mm-hmm.
So now that phobia in all of your different senses has been anchored to that tapping, or whatever. And when that tapping happens, all of a sudden there you are.
Yeah.
You know, you don't know why.
So now
you don't know why, but that's the trigger now.
Yeah.
So what they do is then they get the person to relax, take a break, refocus, reset, and now we're going to go a different route. We're going to talk about what happened. Was there a time in your life that you were not phobic about this? This situation did not trigger you into feeling like that.
Yeah.
And, so if there was no time before that the person can remember, before they had their phobic responses to things, then they say, well, do you know anybody that, goes through the same thing as you, but they don't end up feeling what you're feeling and having that experience? Most people would then at that point know somebody. But if not, then they can go another route, several routes to the top of every mountain mostly, which is, can you imagine, a superhero or somebody who's really well educated or somebody who's whatever. Can you imagine a person being faced with what you're being faced with and not having that phobic response? And they go through all of their different senses with that as well. And they anchor those responses to a different stimuli. So if it's a tap for the phobia, it would be the ringing of a bell for the next one, or a flashing of a different colored light, or whatever, right? But now when the human mind has both of those strategies in place and anchored, the human mind does not want to have the pain of the fear.
No, I know.
The human mind wants to heal.
Yeah.
Healing is a natural thing for us for our bodies to be trying to do. So when the therapist then taps the tap and rings the bell at the same time, or hits the green light and hits the red light, and both of your responses are right there, available for your mind to choose, how do I want to react to this thing now? I have this set of strategies, and I have this set of strategies, and this one doesn't work very well for me. It's what I'm trying to get rid of. And this one, there's peace in this one. There's, and so that's the experience of the therapists, is that human beings, with their desire to be healed, will collapse that phobia.
Close the door.
And they'll no longer use that set of strategies when confronted with this particular situation. And so I think that maybe in the same way,
thing while you're on your mushroom, on your microdosing,
and that's what I'm saying with mushrooms.
You think of the traumatic event, and then they teach you the new way to think. And so when you come back to that traumatic event, it doesn't go there anymore.
That's right.
That door's closed.
That's right.
You've got the new thought, right?
Exactly.
Right. So it's a little...
and on a much more physical level, although perhaps on a similar emotional level as well, but on a physical level, cannabis is doing similar things. So when you introduce the cannabis chemicals into your body, you're supplementing your body's own cannabinoid system, the endocannabinoid system.
Yep.
And
thank you for mine.
And it will be used for whatever it is you need to use it for. So your body understands that, your mind understands that. You've just injected some potentials, almost like stem cells, and your body will decide, well, you need to sleep. Or you need this, or you need that, and so you need anti-inflammatory, whatever it is.
Marie.
Well, we're getting pretty technical here. For a couple of
people are loving it. They're saying, Cheyenne says she loves this so much. Steve, great discussion. I've always had a great time when I've done mushrooms, right? And
I haven't.
Yeah,
I haven't. I've had many really good mushroom experiences.
Oh, really? Eh?
But I've had at least one that wasn't so good. I've had a couple that weren't so good, for sure. The one back when I was probably about 17, 18 years old, it stopped me from using mushrooms until I was in my 40s.
Really, eh?
Yeah, I didn't do it again.
Yeah, I told people to leave my home.
I think I ate too much.
I think I ate too much that night,
I ate too much. I didn't know. And then, we started talking about whether or not you can be harmed by these things.
Yeah.
Well, boy, I'll tell you, I wasn't feeling very good at all. I mostly was just laying on the bed, feeling, I don't know, very, very weird, thinking I was not okay at all. That was the thing, is I didn't think I was okay.
Yeah. Then you scare yourself.
Yeah, you scare yourself.
Yeah.
And so now they're, anyway, I didn't enjoy it. and I didn't want to do it again, and I thought that's what it was all about. And then on one of the Freedom Tours, I think the first Freedom Tour actually, in 2006, I don't know how the universe managed to lay this thing out for me, but I ended up being dragged, willingly on this tour across Canada to go to meet the Prime Minister on Remembrance Day, and it started in 2006. I mean, the whole thing actually started in 2004, but we didn't get it off the ground and didn't do the first one until 2006. But the way it worked out, where I was at the different times, we left the Victoria Legislature in the third week of June, came back into Vancouver after doing Vancouver Island and coming back, spending a couple more weeks in Vancouver and preparing for the 5.5 more months on the road. And then on the road, I mean, we're in Kelowna and in the Okanagan right when the berries are ripe.
Oh, it's a good place to get mushrooms, eh?
Oh, my goodness. And right along the path was Shambhala. So I got to go to Shambhala.
I got to go to Shambhala.
I went to Shambhala 3 years in a row, thanks to the Freedom Tour. And it was on that first Shambhala experience. My son was there. It was so awesome. And he convinced me to do some mushrooms with him. And wow, what an amazing experience.
I've always found mushrooms out in the nature has always been a good thing, or with friends. Being stuck inside has not always been a good thing.
So, do you know what, have you been to Shambhala?
Never. I know what I've heard of it.
It's this huge farm area that has a lot of forest involved in it as well.
Yeah.
That they build stages and they build all these theme things around the stages that are incredible. Creative people, multi-level, multicolored.
Yeah.
The lights at night are incredible. Oh my goodness, I keep using that word. And when you do mushrooms, they're even more incredible. I had to use the word again. The people are all dressed up in all sorts of costumes, and most of those costumes involve lights, different flashing light combinations all over them.
Wow.
There's music coming from 6 different stages. So when you get close to any one stage, that's all you hear. But when you get out into the medium areas, you can hear different vibes coming from different areas. At nighttime, there's paths and trails that go, and they're all lit up too.
Yeah.
So they've lined all these paths. They've lit up all the trees. Oh man, it's amazing.
Marie says mushrooms help her walk to the corner store. So,
yeah. Well, and so, Marie, are you microdosing mushrooms, or are you taking a heroic dose to get to the store?
No, she's microdosing.
Because there's a whole other thing there. I mean, mushrooms have such a variety of purposes and available benefits, depending on the dose that you take and the scene and the setting that you're in.
Yeah. You don't have to do mushrooms to get high. You can do mushrooms just to microdose and maintain.
Well, microdosing, I mean, it comes in different levels. You know, some people do like a gram, a 20th of a gram, and some people do maybe all the way up to a gram is considered microdosing. I don't consider a gram.
I call it at a gram. It's called a macrodose.
I think it's a dose for sure.
The macrodose.
You're going to get high on a gram of good mushrooms, absolutely, and quite high.
Microdosing is the best.
But the microdosing is a different thing. You can microdose to the point where you feel it. You know there's a little bit of that going on there. And it's a little more humor. It's a little more lively. I don't know.
Colors look a little better.
A little maybe. It's a brighter way to live, I think. You know, for the time that you're on the things. I think that's true. I think it enhances a lot of different, things without being an overt high. Mm-hmm. But then you get to half a gram and beyond, and maybe less than that for some people too. Like a half a gram, can get you pretty high on good mushrooms sometimes.
Yeah.
And now you're into you probably don't want to play sports, but I can't say for sure. I don't feel like it myself.
No, I don't think I want to run around.
I don't really want to be driving.
I'd be able to throw a frisbee.
Don't really want to drive a vehicle or anything like that. No. Don't want to do anything very complicated for the most part. There's a fair bit of vibration going on. Blurry vibration of maybe colors even in the peripherals. Mm. For me, I'm not that social, I guess, because I prefer to be high on weed than I do mushrooms when I'm around other people.
Coming down off mushrooms, I drove from Chilliwack to Mission.
Oh, yeah.
On the highway. I was like, that was interesting.
What I do now, I don't go out. I don't go with people. I don't have an event that I go to and do them. I do them maybe once a week. I find a night that I think I'm okay, to do them on. I'll do up to a gram, and I'll basically sit and watch YouTube videos of music.
No, good.
I don't watch the science stuff.
No,
I can't do that.
Is it frustrating?
Yeah, I did that. But I love watching live performances of the old legendary classic rock and roll.
There you go.
And I don't know why, but it seems like I pick the craziest stuff to watch when I'm on mushrooms, or the mushrooms make it
next time
crazy.
Jefferson Airplane.
Oh, try some Talking Heads.
Talking Heads too, yeah. Or how about, do you remember Max Headroom?
Sure.
You could do some Max Headroom videos.
Yeah, so stuff like that is really good. I really enjoy that. But I don't find
never done mushrooms, Cheyenne. Wow.
They're definitely worth doing. That's how I started this whole thing.
Yeah.
They're not really going to hurt you.
No.
You're not going to do 10 grams.
No.
They're difficult to consume in the first place. They don't taste all that great. Some of my friends, they just eat them. They just gobble them on down. I don't do that. I'm a fussy eater to begin with.
Hendrix was more for acid, I believe, than mushrooms, right?
Well, acid and mushrooms are similar.
I believe that Hendrix used to put it underneath his headband, and then he would put it on and do his show so that he would sweat, and it would go into his brain. I also know that he did liquid acid in his eyes.
Yeah.
Right? I've never known about Hendrix using mushrooms, but being that he used psychedelics.
Yeah, that was just part of the scene back in the day.
Yeah.
We put them on pizzas sometimes. We picked them in fields and dried them out and ate them sometimes. Lots of different ways that we took them. And then, like I said, I took too many, and that was the end of that for me. But prior to that, it was just part of the scene, part of the culture, and mushrooms were all right. But so that's where I'm at with them now. But I do find that not all strains of mushrooms, and there's lots of different strains of mushrooms. The albinos, in particular, the penis envy albinos, they allow me to wake up in the morning and feel like, man, I had a good night's sleep.
Oh, that's good.
Even though most of the time I'm not able to really sleep until late in the morning hours.
Yeah.
I don't get up all that early either. I don't have to. But and then later on that day, I need a nap. But it's not really because of the mushrooms. The mushrooms, I think they help me in several different ways.
Early enough in the day so I can get that time of sleep at night. So if I want to be asleep by midnight, I'll start around 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I've got a good rhythm on it. I've got a pretty good handle on what dosage does what and how long that's going to last.
Yeah.
The last time I did them just a few nights ago, it was basically perfect. It was a really good experience. I felt fine in the morning. I went to sleep easy and good just a few hours later. Sometimes if I take too much, if I do a gram, a little over a gram, something like that, it can be 6 hours, 7 hours. It can be 6 o'clock in the morning, and I still haven't really slept at all.
Ooh, that's not good.
I'll turn off the YouTube long before that. But I'll lay in bed, and I'm not sleeping. I got lots of things going on in front of my eyes, and so I try not to do that. I don't like those really long. I'm too old for young people can do that.
Alex, Neil, I don't think you ever smoked diamonds, have you?
Oh yeah.
Well, you done that?
Yeah.
Well, I know you do dabs, but diamonds are a little bit.
I've tried it all.
You tried it all, did you?
Pretty much.
Yeah, diamonds are great. I like.
I don't think I've not tried anything, cannabis wise.
Yeah.
Cannabis wise. So yeah.
Marie says she takes 5 milligrams of them. So
that's a big heavy dose. So she's a veteran user.
Milligrams, 5 milligrams.
Oh, milligrams. Oh, okay.
Milligrams.
So not grams.
That's a microdose. Yes, that's a microdose.
I don't even know how you measure milligrams. Like, how much of a gram is that? Is it 0.5 of a gram?
100 milligrams is in fecal oil is that one line because there's 1,000.
Okay, I can't go there because I'm gonna not tell the truth because I just don't know. Right at this moment, the calculations that you're asking me to do.
Yeah.
I don't feel confident that I'm going to do that in any sort of a...
I would believe that a gram of mushrooms would still be 1,000 milligrams of medicine.
Well, then she's not doing very much at all.
Yes, exactly.
Of the mushrooms.
Right? So
like 5 milligrams. If there's 1,000 milligrams in a gram, then 5 is nothing.
Right. It'd be nothing. Yeah.
It'd be nothing.
That is a small microdose.
It would be. It would be nothing, and you wouldn't feel that in any way, shape, or form. I'm pretty sure. Wouldn't hurt you to put it in your body, but I doubt that it's going to be able to do very much. So she's probably taking a larger amount than that.
Yeah.
And just we're not clear on how to measure what it is that she's taking.
Yeah. Well, they would probably be in a capsule.
Yeah, I thought you said 5 grams. I know people take 5 grams at a time.
Yeah, 5 grams. That's a microdose.
And I think that might be what the woman in Dosed 2
did. It was
taking
5 grams.
And it might have been more too. I think the second time it was more. But 5 grams to me, that's a lot. I've never been there.
Yeah.
Except maybe that time when I don't know how much I took, when I took too much.
When you took too much.
And I don't know how much I took then.
Wow.
But what we did at Shambhala would have been probably a couple of grams. A couple of grams is probably the most that I've taken since then. I've probably done mushrooms or consumed mushrooms, magic mushrooms, 50, 60, 100 times, since 2006. So in the last 17 years, I might have done it 60 to 100 times, something like that. I've never done more than 2 grams. I don't know if I'm chicken, but I feel like I am, but I don't need to know how powerful that is. I get really, I'm really hallucinating on a gram, anything around a gram. And as I'm watching,
all I get is strobes.
As I'm watching that music video, I'm aware that everything around me is fluctuating.
Oh, really?
Fluctuating, vibrating, moving.
That's strobing.
Colors.
Colors. Okay, no, colors.
There's a lot of, they all kind of mesh in together. Whatever's there. There's light that affects things.
Yeah.
So I get pretty high on a gram plus. So I don't feel like taking 5 grams.
I do a gram and a half, maybe but usually
if I was trying to kick a hard drug, then maybe 5 grams is what does it. And if I had some serious paranoia, phobic stuff going on in my life, maybe that's what I would do to address that, right?
Yeah.
But I really don't have anything like that going on that's of any serious consequence that would require me to do anything like that. Mm-hmm. I get plenty high. I'm up too long. I'm, whoa, it's 7 a.m. and I'm still vibrating. And I mean, seriously vibrating. I can't sleep because the whole being is still vibrating. And, I don't need that. I don't need 5 times that.
Yeah.
That's enough. Even that is much more than I normally do. Normally, it's within the 6.
Okay.
So 6.1 to 6.9.
Okay.
Last time it was 6.9. I push it to 6.9.
A little over half a gram.
Yeah, a little over half a gram, almost 3/4 of a gram. And that's a fairly short, still relatively intense, enjoyable, you're watching of the YouTube videos and then falling asleep. So
I guess with different mushrooms, they would have different levels of psilocybin in them, right?
And even other things besides psilocybin.
How many milligrams of psilocybin would be in a magic mushroom?
Well, and this is why you kind of want to have mushroom dispensaries.
Yeah.
You want to be able to go into a place that's going to have a variety of different mushrooms, different strains, and be able to guide you through that and tell you what to expect in these different things there.
Or what they've experienced. Because what they've experienced might not be what to tell somebody to what they're expecting.
Well, I would think that if we don't already have it accumulated, it wouldn't take too long. And these dispensaries, especially if they're allowed to exist, will accumulate quite a database of what is generally to be expected. It's probably like anything else where individuals will have different experiences, but generally speaking, this type of mushroom will give you this type of an effect. And
When I did my first bit of acid, somebody told me pink elephants are good, dragons are bad. Follow the pink elephants. Do not follow the dragons.
Nobody ever gave me that advice.
Well, that's all they did. That's all she said. That's it, right? She said, if you see dragons, don't look at them. Go away and think of pink elephants. Pink elephants are good, right? So that was my whole theory on acid there. Pink elephants are good. Dragons are bad.
My last acid trip was around a similar time frame to that particular mushroom trip.
Yeah.
I've never revisited LSD.
Oh, I did just a few years ago. A friend of ours that we know that can get some.
From what I hear, the LSD these days is not the same.
It's better.
That's not what I'm hearing.
It's cleaner.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's
I don't know what that means.
Well, because they used to cut it with strychnine back then. right? And so there would be, and I know that because I experienced strychnine poisoning from a bunch
I have
of
no
acid.
knowledge of that. All I know is on
yes.
several occasions, maybe a dozen occasions, I, with friends, took various forms of LSD under different names, window pane and blotter and what have you. And then that one time, I did blotter acid. We bought at the Joe Walsh concert, and I did it the day after. I didn't do it at the concert there, but I didn't have the same experience on my blotter as my friends did on the blotter they bought. Mm-hmm. So we thought maybe they spilled the blotter. Sometimes when you're doing the blotter, you're high as fuck from doing the blotter, and you put too much on a blotter, and you're still going to sell it. You know?
That's not the way they do it, though.
So, well, back then it was.
You would soak the sheets. They would soak the sheets and then hang them on closed clips, and then halfway through the drying thing, they would flip them one more time. And that's why the middle of the sheets was always the most potent, because the sheet had been flipped, right? They wouldn't just do drop because you wouldn't be able to measure a drop, right? So they would.
So our speculation was probably wrong, and what you're saying makes sense. Well, maybe I got the stuff in the middle.
10,000, a catalog book full of all perforated, 1,000 heats, 100 hits per sheet or something like that. Right. It was called Weird Stone. Right. And it said, "Those who follow by the wizard's will." Or drink from the wizard's will, fall by the wizard's well, or something like that. Those who drink from the wizard's well, fall by the wizard's will. Yes. Oh, and the middle was the eye.
I see.
And the eye was always the most important.
Yeah, I wasn't right into that. It seemed, I had some friends that were doing so much so often, but so I've never gone there again since, and I might, we'll see if I manage to hit.
Marie says she does mushroom tea also.
Right?
Yeah, I heard mushroom tea is pretty good.
So, and it works for her, obviously.
Yes,
And how long have you been doing it, Marie?
So a long time, probably, I don't know. I've got mushroom tea from Sierra? No. Come on, we know her. Icy cold and cream and all that stuff. Come on, she's always at our events. Older lady. But you do.
Not coming up with
Sierra, or not Sierra, but okay. Anyways.
Well, you throw me with
Sita. Thank you, Ron.
Sita.
There we go. There you go.
Sure, I know Sita.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you. Sita, that's it. Thank you.
Well, that's what I was going to say. You threw me with the whole Sierra thing. Who do I know that's Sierra or anything like that?
Thank you, my friend. Thank you. That's good.
So
they know.
So what we didn't get to that I wanted to get to is that the government's focusing on these particular mushrooms, and trying to keep people from using them. I mean, what's the motive for that?
I don't know. Maybe more people will die because they did some poisonous ones and they weren't able to go to the store and get a real one?
I think it's all born out of that time period, back in the 50s, 60s, where, anything that the young people were doing, the anti-war movement, the hippies, the peaceniks, all those people, that the parents of the day were the lawmakers of the day, and so they just didn't like this stuff, and they made it illegal.
Yeah.
But when you analyze it and you think about, well, what is it that they're prohibiting? They're prohibiting, Marie from having her mushroom tea from people using it to deal with the complexities of the fear of dying, for people that are using it to snap themselves out of addiction. There's a variety of different super values that come from using these mushrooms that people are being denied the ability to access. But when you really come down to analyze it, it's about thought crimes. It's about they don't want you thinking outside of the box that they've built for you to be in.
Yeah. Like slaves.
Mind slaves for sure.
Yeah.
They want to enslave your mind. They don't want your mind to go on a trip, to visit other cultures, to think about other possibilities.
Yeah.
To roam the universe of possibilities. They don't want you doing that.
No.
They want you to continue to just accept
mindless.
the box that they've built for you of, go to work, obey the law, all these other structures that they've put in there that sort of keep people just not experiencing the fullness that their lives could be. Mm-hmm. And so
they don't want us woke.
It makes no sense. It's similar to what we just discussed about cannabis, where the cannabis prohibition makes no sense, but it makes big bucks for people. Well, in this case, it makes no sense to deprive people of those psychological, psychedelic experiences unless you're trying to control those people yourself. Mm-hmm. And you don't want the possibility that those people are going to reanalyze their lives and maybe change their priorities and things like that. The government, on behalf of the corporate elite, the elite that's been with us since the pharaohs and before, are always working hard to maintain the focus of the masses on being a good worker, obeying the law, respecting the government, respecting the law. It's an interesting dance.
Yeah, Alex says he would like to know how many are still in jail for cannabis charges in Canada.
Hard to know those
numbers. Can we
numbers.
Google that?
I don't think you'd get an answer right away like that. That's probably a longer investigation
you think so?
than that. But let's just ask Google that question and see what it says.
Let's just see,
How many people are incarcerated in Canada for cannabis crimes? 2020. No, that's the...
Oh, wow.
These are where the statistics are from. In 2020, 16,000 adults charged. No, in 2017, sorry. In 2017. They don't give you very up-to-date statistics here.
You got to top the whole thing. That's Canada one, right?
Fact sheet, da-da-da-da-da, do they have an actual graph of some sort?
I wonder if GPT would be able to answer that question for you.
I don't know.
Because it would have an access to all that information without you having to read it.
Incarcerate, I'm not seeing incarceration. I'm seeing a whole lot of charges. I mean, it's certainly not going to answer our question just the way we asked it. The resource that it's given.
Wow, BC has a what?
So in Canada, where's the number? Rate per 100,000.
Oh wow.
So per 100,000, British Columbia has almost double everybody else. Quebec is a little bit less than or more than half of what BC is.
5,233
people per 100,000.
Yeah. What's the one?
But that might be charges. That might not be incarcerations.
Okay.
It says the majority of cannabis-related offenses were for importation or exportation.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
In
That's
2020.
In 2020. That's interesting. So there's no real graph that I can see here.
No.
Those are just
There's
the
some footnotes.
Yeah, it's not going to tell me. They're relying on the government stats on that. Of course, you would have to.
Do you have ChatGPT there?
Yeah.
You do, right?
Yeah, I think it's maybe
where is it?
here.
Let's just, we can ask that question.
Where are you? I haven't used it very much.
Oh, maybe.
I haven't used it very much, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's alright. Could be gone.
Hey, what do you mean I downloaded that?
Oh, go this way and then I usually put
Oh,
mine
it's probably in one of these things, right?
Yeah. No. Just
Not that
put,
one,
you can tap for chat.
Yeah.
And we'll see. Okay, and then search.
Well, I should be GPT, right?
Oh, yeah. See, you don't have
This is live TV, don't worry
Yeah, we
about
don't have it anymore.
Don't worry about it, folks. So I don't have that on there anymore.
Misinformation is
It
on mine.
didn't like the questions I was asking or something.
Oh, wow. Yeah, right?
Anyway.
See, I haven't got it anymore.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Well,
Sir, it's, looks like
so
it's
I don't know those numbers. In fact, those numbers would be best not to just look in Canada as to how many people are incarcerated, but it would be more of a global
Oh, there are probably
overview.
more people in the States incarcerated for their
Still a lot of people in the
States. A lot of states that are not legal yet, right?
So we should probably get some stats and do a little show on that sort of thing. I know that the arrests in Denver, in Colorado, where they have legalization, and in California are still not that far off of where they were before they had their legalization there.
Wow.
There's still a lot of people that are growing more than they're supposed to. Or,
Oh, God.
But I don't know that for sure at this point, and we need to find that out if we're going to have a conversation about that. And And so we would like to do that. We'll see if we can do that. I need a good stats man, a good stats woman, somebody who will.
I'm sure that we can figure it out. Yeah.
But we do pass on what we can. There's the Halloween event coming up on October 22nd at Holland Park.
Oh, 21st.
No, 22nd.
Okay.
We're going to do this again, right?
I know.
You've been right most of the time today.
I know.
But you're not right about that one.
Yes, I was. I'm pretty sure.
Well, we got to look it up right now then.
You should, well, I can't. My phone is right
We
there.
need to have, these people need to be able to bet on this at home.
Yeah,
right?
because
Who's
I asked
right,
Dan,
Neil or Glenn?
There was a live video that's shared onto the CSB page, and I asked Dan, and he says October 21st, I do believe.
Yeah, I think you're wrong, but I could be wrong. You never know.
Yeah.
So what are we going to go to? We're going to go to Rosie's page?
Go our other cannabis. I put it on there too. There was a live video
right
that was coming from them. Yeah. I did put it on there.
Hey, come on, where is
Jay
it?
Frost?
I'm going to go to something else.
Then you can go look for something else.
I think maybe Rosie.
All right.
See what Rosie has here. That's not it. Rosie, what are you saying about the Halloween party? I'm grateful. Is that paycheck to paycheck? Oh my God.
Why don't you just go to the Surrey Cannabis page?
I don't even know if I have that up there to be able to find like that. Do you want to try it?
Here, yeah.
I should be. Oh, okay.
Yeah, just let me do it. So.
You do. He's way better at that than I am. Always has been.
Yeah, all right. So
when it comes to computers and smartphones and things like that, pretty much the older you are, the less good you are.
That's that one. Hold on.
Okay, hold on.
So there's CSP Surrey. You just can tap it.
Okay.
And there you go.
And there you go. So where is it?
So I looked on your Vancouver page and just found the CSP one, right?
Right. Okay, I got it.
All right. So.
Where's the Halloween? That's not Halloween. That's what they did out in Langley.
Yeah.
They've been working with the Heisenherbs and the Magnuson Foundation. I'm a little bit overwhelmed about that. Quite honored. Have been expanding the program out into Langley. We've had a couple of giveaways out there, and they're putting on a fundraiser for Halloween that Glenn is still trying to find here.
Yeah. This is the one here. This is where I ask him the question. Let's see.
You're going to go into the comments now?
Look.
Oh, it's right there. Glenn Wells.
It is. You're right. December. See, that's how we found it, right? So it says, well. So
if I'd have been wrong,
October, yes.
It could have been the end of the show.
Sorry, my fault this time.
It could have been the end of the show.
Why?
Well, because I was so sure I was right. I knew it was the 22nd.
But there was
we just talked about it.
There was one that the court date where I was right and you were wrong.
That's right.
So we're one for one. Okay.
But on that one, I wasn't as sure as I was on this one. On this one, I was sure.
So it is October.
And I was also sure on the 4 billion-year-old asteroid.
So that's Halloween or just a fundraiser, because it's not really close to Halloween.
Yeah, it's a week away from Halloween.
Is it? Yeah.
But you see, here's how I look at it. It's Holland Park.
Oh, because Halloween falls on a Tuesday.
So it's Holland Park.
Yeah.
So it's Halloween.
There you go, Halloween.
It could be on any day in Holland Park. Halloween could be on any day in Holland Park. And the thing I want to say about the Holland Park thing is we had this fundraiser there just recently.
Yeah.
We won't tell you what the date was. Probably we won't agree on that, and then we'll spend too much time on our phones again. But recently, a few weeks back, maybe a month or so, there was an event at Holland Park put on by the Surrey CSP.
Yes.
And the real significant thing about that is that's RCMP territory.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been a lot of resistance to anything cannabis there. There's no dispensaries allowed in Surrey. Weeds tried to put a version of their own version of the CSP out there and were shut down immediately by the RCMP. So to have an event like was had out there by the Surrey CSP with lots of booths set up and vendors and people selling weed and a stage and people like myself bashing government and prohibition and stuff, that was really significant, I thought. So to do it again, that's very cool. So if you're in the Surrey area on October 22nd,
yes.
Check out Holland Park. It's right off King George Highway, right by Surrey Central there. And it's And I think there's costumes and stuff involved.
And since we're talking about CSP, we should say thank you to Michael and Steve for their
Absolutely.
donations this week. Right?
Some nice donations from Michael and Michael Fuller and Steve Niemi.
We go with Steve.
Steve Niemi. It's Steve Niemi.
Yeah.
And it's Mikal, but it's probably Michael.
Yes.
Fuller, who has a painting company. If you want any good painting done,
Yeah.
I've not had any done by him, but he seems like a reputable fellow, and I've got his home phone number. So I mean,
and that's Mikel.
Fuller painting.
Yeah.
But yeah, nice donations to the CSP. That's really
It might give
appreciated.
you $100, which cash buys you a lot of, gives you a little bit more buying power, doesn't
Absolutely.
it?
The CSP has to buy a number of different things. There's a number of different suppliers and bakers that need finances for a lot of what they do for us. It's how it has been sustained here for 6.5 years, almost 7 now.
And Steve has been monthly giving us some edibles to hand out.
And the other was edibles, which are great,
Yes,
gummies,
thank you.
you know. So donations are so important. It's what keeps the whole thing going. The volunteers would have nothing to volunteer to do if there wasn't any donations to donate, or to dispense rather. And that goes for us in Vancouver, but it goes doubly and more than that for the other CSPs that are out there. Especially, I would say, Chris, in Halifax for the East Coast CSP. I've been doing wonderful work out there, helping the people on the streets. Nimi. Okay. Sorry.
Thank you, Steve.
Is it NEI?
No, yes, but he put it here. Me. NEEME.
Absolutely.
There.
Absolutely.
He knows how to spell it.
Well, he knows how to say it.
Yeah, he knows how to say it. So
I don't think he knows how to spell it properly, but he knows how to say
Probably
it.
the I is silent or something.
Probably the I is silent.
That's what it is. Or something.
It had me convinced it was there.
I seen it.
In any case, thank you very much, Steve, and thank you very much, Michael, and everybody else that donates. And there's a lot of people. There's a whole lot of people.
Oh, there's a lot of people. There's people that volunteer their time here.
In Halifax, it's really tough. There's not the Vancouver community that there is there. They don't reach the same audience that we do. And so if you're anywhere near Halifax, or if you can donate to those people there, it's a Halifax the East Coast, not the Halifax, the East Coast CSP. Chris Backer is the wonderful human that runs that.
You can find him on Facebook.
And I'm sure we link to him all over the place. And but support those people as best you can. These projects, and I'm going to talk about that just in a minute now, are vitally important for a number of different reasons. And for those that have been involved in the cannabis legalization movement for a while now, I'm sure you understand that our fight to get proper access to cannabis is far from over. This legalization is a sham. It's a smoke and mirrors show that's designed to continue prohibition, to continue to make all the people making money on prohibition making money, and to make a whole bunch of money for a bunch of people that don't deserve it. A lot of ex-police and prohibition high-up people have been given positions on boards of licensed producers. I know that's a thing that is coveted by these licensed producers, is to have some sort of an ex-law enforcement person on their board working with them within their companies. But it's somewhat abhorrent to see that the legalization that we've been handed here by the Liberals is all about protecting big business, protecting big companies, protecting the government's record on prohibition, where they have spent billions and billions of our tax dollars while children starved in Canada, and many people went without. And yet the prohibitionists, the cops, those people involved in maintaining prohibition, they all got nice houses. They've all had a really nice life over all this time, while many other Canadians have been suffering. And all in the name of trying to eradicate access to a herb that is nothing more or nothing less than the very best medicinal herb in nature, with amazing benefits for those people that would use it in such a myriad way. Like, there's no excuse for them anymore, yet they continue on with the stigmatization, with the denial of the medical value of cannabis, and without an apology for what they put us through. Do people remember what they put us through?
I went to jail.
Yeah, me too.
Several times.
They gave me a criminal record.
Yeah,
they ruined my reputation with my family and my parents and my neighbor and my community. Yeah. They cost me job opportunities. They result, and that's just me. And I'm nobody with when you're considering the harms that have been done to people. Like, people have literally had their lives ruined.
Yep.
There's so many Canadians that can tell you such horrible stories about what's happened to them. Death.
His name was Vince.
Suicide.
Yeah.
Major drug addiction. Yeah. Depression. Incarceration.
The thought of being incarcerated because they've been charged with these
the fear that they had, all of us lived under for so long. And even still to this day. People are living in fear if they're outside of the cartel, if they still got their grow room going with more than 4 plants, if they got some people that are helping them feed their family and pay their rent because they're providing them with some of the buds that they're able to grow. And it's a win-win situation for everybody, except the government's not getting their cut. So they're going to take their cut by getting your tax dollars and using it to pay themselves and all their buddies to go around and bust all these people. And it's just a money-making scheme.
Ends up costing the taxpayers even more money because you're in jail and then they're paying for your housing and
it's been horrible.
Your guards and the staff. So
every time you start thinking about it, it's like, this is horrible.
It's a vicious machine.
And they need to apologize for that. And they need to make reparations in many cases for that. They should make reparations to me. I've suffered enough. Yeah. I've lost enough of my time and what I otherwise would have been doing with my life because of their stupid attempt to prohibit cannabis, to protect the patentable rights of these other corporations, and to, all the things that motivated them to prohibit cannabis are all about greed and corruption. And so, but I'm nobody, like I said, compared to some of the lives that have been ruined by these policies, and they need to apologize for that, and they need to do something about that. But they're just la-di-da going along like, oh, that all never happened, and, well, what are you worried about now? You can go buy it in the store, we legalized it for you, and you should go away now. Well, no, you didn't, and even if you did, where's the apology? If it's okay now, if all of a sudden now it's okay, go ahead, walk into a store, buy yourself some good quality cannabis and smoke your brains out and all the other things that they wouldn't let you do before, because if you did it, you were a criminal. And the reason you're a criminal is because that stuff is dangerous, man. And your public servants have to make a point of harming you if you ever get involved with that, because that shit's dangerous. So they hurt a lot of people to try to help them and keep them from getting hurt by marijuana, which never happened in any case. And all really because they wanted to be government, and they wanted to make money, and they wanted to have access to the public purse. And they didn't give a damn who they were hurting. And the people they were hurting were just poor people that smoke weed anyway, so they don't care about them. In fact, they want to hurt them, and you can see that. So this has been going on for too long. It was criminal to begin with. It's criminal today, and they've never apologized. And now we live in a world where they can just say, oh, well, we've given you legalization. You're all good now. You can go buy it in the store. And they don't. And the truth is that they owe us a big-time apology, that we need to be able to go into stores and buy it for a lot less than they're making people sell it for, that they need to have zero cut on cannabis. The government doesn't need to take taxes at 4 different levels. Trudeau doesn't need to get $1 per gram that's sold in Canada. What the hell for? Why, just because he's got a nice smile and a nice haircut? And for that we're going to give him $1 a gram on an industry that obviously has sold billions and billions of dollars worth of cannabis in the 5 years that they've been around, because they've lost $20 billion. If you're losing $20 billion, you're making a whole bunch as well. You sold a bunch. And Trudeau doesn't care if you win or lose. If you sell some cannabis, he gets his buck.
Yeah.
For what? For what? That 1 gram of cannabis that he gets $1 on doesn't go out and cost us anything. It doesn't cost any taxpayer dollars at all for Canadians to consume that gram of cannabis. In fact, if it helps them with medical conditions, it probably saves us on Medicare costs.
Yeah, our visits to doctors and stuff. Yeah.
If it makes them a nicer person, it probably saves us on court costs. except for the court costs involved in busting them for having some weed. But nobody's out there assaulting anybody because they smoked a joint and got unreasonably angry and decided to hit somebody. It's the opposite. So rather than the government take tax dollars off of the sale of cannabis, they should take tax dollars and make it and use it to encourage people to use cannabis, because it's saving us a whole bunch of money, making our society better. There's no need to tax something that saves us money, saves the government money, and makes the world a better place. You don't want to discourage the use of something like that. You want people to be smoking cannabis and not cigarettes. You want people to be using cannabis and not alcohol. You want people to be using cannabis and not pharmaceutical drugs, because all of those ones that are other than cannabis are extremely expensive to the individual and to our society. So if they can use something that's going to save us and them some money, well, the government should supplement that and encourage that. It certainly shouldn't take some taxes off the top of that. So anyway, somebody has a question, I think.
Yeah, Ron McNabb says that the OPP raided the mushroom cabinet again.
Yeah, there's mushroom dispensaries being raided out there, especially in Ontario.
This time they put the OPP put their lock on their door so that they couldn't go back into it. It says
saving the public from those dangerous mushrooms.
This time the OPP changed the locks to shut them down for good. The mushroom cabinet has been a source of meds for Allison Murden. Yep. Yes, and Allison Murden we all know. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow.
And Allie's not doing so well because of that. These people were able to donate to her. She's a wonderful human being that was working as a corrections officer and then got MS and got some health issues and found out that cannabis could actually help her with her condition, and then found out that cannabis is really the only thing that helps her. Yeah. And her condition is far more than just MS. She's got tic douloureux, and the most painful condition known to humans. And she suffers greatly in her wheelchair and with her conditions there. And she has been advocating for the sane drug policy like we have for a long, long time. She was one of the premier members of Law Enforcement Against Prohibition, and continues on a daily basis to work despite the pain that she's in and the suffering that she goes through for the cause, and so that other people can have access and so that she can have access. But in the meantime, she doesn't have much access to what she needs there. So if you can contribute to Allison, DM me and I'll give you information on how to send her some stuff. Yeah. But right now she's had some of her supply cut off because why? Because there's a mushroom store. Well, there's an alcohol store. Well, there's a tobacco store. Well, there's a store that sells processed meats that's carcinogenic. There's stores for everything out there. Why isn't there stores for mushrooms? People want mushrooms. You know why there's so many mushroom dispensaries? Because there's so much demand for mushroom dispensaries. Yeah. That's why, in Vancouver here, there's a whole bunch of them. And there's still a whole bunch more in Ontario that haven't been shut down yet. It's a thing. They're all over the place. They're loud, they're proud, they're not trying to hide. They know they're providing a service for people. And the reason that they're doing that is because there's such demand. They hear the stories from their customers about how much it's helped them in how many different ways. We've got a government that's now federal government, allowing for people to access these things because it can help them in their time of need, of dying and all the rest of it. Well, what? You've got to be dying to be able to use a mushroom to get some benefit out of it? No. Like, what the hell? This is all wrong. It's all the continuation of the drug war, the war against people who would use other than the corporate drugs.
Wonder how much less mental health people would have on the street if mushrooms were able to help people all the time that they've been illegal. Like,
for sure.
Because we have a lot of mental health problems down here. I'm just saying that it'd probably be a lot less if we were able to, or doctors were able to use psilocybin to help these people. Like
natural medicine.
Yeah.
It's natural medicine. It's been used for millennia. It's documented. It's well understood at this point. It really does help people with depression. It really can help people with addiction.
But there's no money in it.
So they can take taxpayer dollars and make money from taxpayers to try to prohibit it, because they can't make much money on selling it, because they can't monopolize the marketplace. People can grow mushrooms easily. Easy to buy a little kit to grow some in a dark room somewhere. You need to have some mushrooms. You can go and grow them yourself, and it's almost free.
The mushroom store is going to do the same thing as you. They want the charges so they can do the constitutional challenge in court in the Supreme Court. So
well, let's bring it on. Let's go to court. Let's see what the courts have to say about this stuff.
I should go back to being a producer.
It's just about that time, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And I got to move my pocket.
All right. Yeah, you go ahead and do that.
We'll see you on Thursday.
Very good.
We'll see you next week. Thanks, guys.
All right. You take care.
Cheers.
The courts. Our last hope, is the courts. If the government didn't have to answer to the courts, then they would just do whatever they want to do, and our rights would be just quashed. I'm not saying the courts have been the allies of free humans and the sovereign beings here in Canada to any great degree, but they have in many cases ruled on the right side of things, especially on the cannabis file. We've had numerous Supreme Court rulings about people's ability to be able to grow cannabis, to be able to use it for their medical needs, to be able to extract the cannabinoids off of the cannabis plant and use it for making concentrates and other things that help them as well. So the courts have done pretty much the right thing on many occasions. The governments have not, for the most part, ever complied properly with what the courts have said needs to happen. It's an ongoing battle, but it is the one front that we still have some hope with. We seem to have lost most of the objectivity of the media, so you can't trust what the mainstream media is saying about much anymore. Well, you never really could, but now it's even worse for sure. So we'll just see what the courts do. And we've got a court case coming up here. We don't know when now. I apologize for thinking we had a firm date and that we were going to be before the courts by now. We would have had a week of having the arguments heard in a preliminary hearing. But primarily due to an ankle injury from my lawyer and then contracting COVID and the fact that, we think that the more time we have to put our case together, I guess the better that is. Although I would like to see a relatively speedy, positive solution to this case that we have. And the case is basically about whether or not we can continue to provide cannabis without the barriers that are there provided by the Cannabis Act. The Cannabis Act is the reason that there are all of these restrictions, taxations, and regulations surrounding cannabis that continue to hike the prices up to ridiculous levels that are out of reach for the people that need it the most. The Cannabis Act is a contradictory document. It is completely an oxymoron within itself. The stated goals in the first sentence of the Cannabis Act is that it wants to deter illegal behavior, and it wants to make people the results need to be that people are using a regulated source of cannabis. But then it goes on to have all of these restrictions and regulations and prohibitions that make it so that the price of cannabis is still upwards and beyond where it was before so-called legalization. And that price is too much for the people that need it on a daily basis, the people that need high-quality cannabis and high-potency cannabis to deal with serious medical issues. The cannabis legalization movement that I've been a part of for going on 25 years now always put those people first. They were the ones who really needed our help. The young people that were getting arrested and getting criminal records were second on the list, but first on the list were the sick and suffering people that needed to have large amounts on a daily basis. This legalization has left both of those groups out. And so we're in the courts to determine this. Should we be allowed to have an access point for cannabis that doesn't include all of the taxes and expensive requirements that are being put on the cannabis industry? We say these restrictions and regulations are unjustified, that the government shouldn't be in the cannabis business, that they shouldn't be taking taxes off what is a medical product and a benefit to the people that are using it, and a money saver for our society. And this is the fight that we're having. We are demanding what we've always demanded: reasonable access. Access for people to cannabinoids of all potencies, of all types, without government interference, the marketplace deciding, and the prices being in reach for people. And that would happen if the marketplace could decide and the government got its nose out of its business. The poor people would then be able to access cannabis and their needs would be met. And there should be no criminal penalties for cannabis. No young person should get a criminal record. No old person should get a criminal record for something to do with a natural herbal medicine that has been unjustly prohibited for over 100 years. We were not wrong. And if legalization has demonstrated anything, it's that the legalization people were not wrong. But what's happened is the government has decided to give us a version of legalization that is designed to satisfy us that we won, and to satisfy everybody that it's over. Well, this legalization is not us winning, and it is not over. And we're going to go to the courts on that coming up sometime in the new year. We'll let you know when there's a date for that. And what we've been doing, in as small a nutshell as I can create for you, is providing this access point for low barrier cannabis access for almost 7 years through the wonderful donations of many people who've helped along the way to make it happen, through a collaboration with VANDU, the Vancouver Area Network of Drug Users, to use their space for 3.5 years. And once the city had passed a motion saying they would support us, it resulted in us leaving our space at VANDU, where we were there for twice a week for a long time, years, and getting a storefront and providing it 8 hours a day all week long, which didn't last very long because the federal government needed to give us permission before the city would actually give us that piece of paper that they said that they would. And so we applied to the federal government after having 3.5 years under our belts of rescuing people from addiction, saving their lives, bettering their lives, and having zero problems that nothing of any type that would justify any intervention by authorities or police to prevent harm being done, because not only was no harm being done, but a good lot of good was happening here. And that's what we've been doing. We have been waiting on the federal government to provide that permission for over 3 years. They've just recently said they're denying our application. So we'll let the courts decide, and that's what's coming up next. In the meantime, yes, we haven't been able to access the store for providing that low barrier access for people, but we do it still every day from the RV that's parked out in front on the curb here by the store, where the store was, while we wait and hope that at some point we will be given that piece of paper with a signature and be able to come back into this store and give people the safe space and the dignity that they deserve to be able to come and get something that will help them get off of hard drugs and replace the use of those hard drugs. And for whatever reason, just access a plant that for millennia has been used medicinally for people, and not have to worry about government interference, enforcement, arrest, and all of that other stuff. So that is what we're doing here. That's the journey we've been on. That's been the focus of our show for all of the 4+ years now that we've been doing it. And we just hope that one of these days we will be reporting on the show that either the courts have backed us up, or that the government has decided that the right thing to do is to give us that exemption or give us that license. And then we can celebrate and do it properly and maybe refocus the show onto other areas of need. But for now, the truth, the hope, and the change that we're looking for is all about low barrier access to cannabis and a corrupt government that is protecting the interests of the corporate elite in not allowing that. So let's go outside and do a quick visit to the RV as we always do, and bring a little bit of reality to this show. Well, it's a little nicer than it has been, although you can see everything's pretty wet out here. The weekly THC weather report is, well, it's certainly wet. Autumn.
It's been wet.
It's been a little bit wet, which is great actually, because we were in drought conditions here. We were at level 5. Before the rain that we've had in the last 24 hours, it had been reduced down to level 3. So we'll see where we're at now. But the other side of it is it looks like we're getting the right amounts of rain, although I can't speak for the other areas of the province. But getting too much rain was not going to be a good thing. But to have modest amounts, which is, it looks like that's what we've been having, is really, really good for getting the moisture back into the ground, back into the trees and vegetation, and reducing the risk of drought and fire. But it was raining enough to have the tent up earlier.
I see that.
This is the Healing Wave RV, the Ganja Mobile, the Weed Wagon, I guess, or the weed truck, I guess is what they call it mostly in the neighborhood. But this is where we've been doing our thing for, well, it's the 3rd incarnation of our RVs, but it's been over 3 years in doing that as well. And this one is the best of the bunch for sure. We do like to let the public in on what we're doing. We've never tried to hide what we're doing here. We're proud of what we're doing here. We know that we're doing good for people, and that that's what our motives are, and that's what this is all about. And so, part of our defense is, we're not trying to hide, we're not trying to be sneaky, we're not trying to do anything untoward to anybody, and please allow us to be a regular mainstream part of this community and part of communities all across Canada where people really need to have low barrier access to cannabis. The government can still have connoisseur stores and there's still going to be expensive weed, but we need to have the weed that's produced by people who want to have it in the marketplace at much more reasonable prices. And even the people right now that are providing the government stores, and the prices are quite high, if they removed all of those restrictions off of those people, if they took all the taxes off of that weed before it gets to the retail outlet, those prices would be way more in reach for people as well. This is all about government corruption, that the price of cannabis is still where it was during Prohibition, and Prohibition was all about government corruption. So there's a common thread through all of this, and that is government corruption. So, but here we are.
Government greed.
Greed of corporations, and that's where the corruption comes in. You need a hand?
I got it. I'm just working with the door. Let gravity take care of the door.
There you go, yeah.
There you go, right?
So, yeah, no, the greed is on. I mean, it's also governments because they're greedy for power. They want to maintain. They want to be looked after and all the rest of it. But what they are is they're pawns for the corporate elite, for the people that really want to cash in on things. And so, that's what the bottom line to all of this is that it's not ignorance. It's not that the government just isn't sure, or they don't think so. They know the science is in. There's no question, and we have demonstrated for I don't know how many days. It's over 3 years. I don't know how many tens or hundreds of millions of milligrams of edible cannabis that we've put into this neighborhood over those 6.5, almost 7 years that we've been doing this. So we've demonstrated that this does work, that this is real. It's not that the government doesn't know. It's that the government doesn't want to know. Because to allow for what we are saying has to happen to serve the needs of the people during a public health crisis, to do that, they're going to be interfering with the bottom line profits of the stores that are there to make money for their insiders and the elite people that manage to get those licenses. And that's the root of what's going on in a nutshell. This is corruption. The federal government is corrupt. And we're living in a country where we're sold a bill of goods about being, honest, good people. We all, perhaps, or most of us in Canada are honest, good people. But our governments aren't. And they haven't been for a very long time. And if we don't do something about it, they're going to continue to march down that pathway to meet the agenda of the corporate elite and the virtual enslavement of the human population through technologies and surveillance and laws that keep people producing and consuming for those people on top. So this is the battle that we're in, and you're in it whether you like it or not. It's affecting all areas of everybody's life. And so we're offering a way to do something about it. This Cannabis Substitution Program mission here on the East Coast, in Surrey and Langley,
190,
and hopefully right across Canada, and hopefully right around the world, is a way to answer some of that corruption that's going on. In the meantime, what we're doing is we're exposing it, and that's important too. So now that you've understood and you've had it exposed that the government doesn't care about the sick people, it doesn't care about the people that are dying in this public health care emergency that's been going on for 7 years now. It cares about making money, it cares about protecting the interests of the corporate insiders, the financial elite of this world, and if we allow that to continue, then the future generations are in a lot of trouble.
Here you are, Jackson.
And we are the ones, at this point in our history, in the history of the world, that have an opportunity to stop it before it gets completely settled in. So join the movement. Do something. Get on the team, the winning team, hopefully in the end. If enough of us get on it, I think we can get it. And what we're looking for, of course, is freedom. What we're looking for is limited, accountable, transparent public servants. And the first linchpin to be pulled has to be the attempt to prohibit cannabis and the continued attempt to prohibit non-government cartel cannabis. If you're not free to grow yourself plants, to share them with your sick neighbors, to make a bit of money because you can grow something that somebody else can't grow and they want it, if you're not free to do those things, you're not free. And if we can't get the freedom to access this most benign and miraculous plant, then we're not going to get any of the other freedoms that we want either. And we're not going to win any more of the other rights back that we've lost over these years either. It's going to get worse and not better. So here's a great place to start. It's a wonderful group of people to work with, I can tell you that. And we really do need to get this done. I'm ignoring you guys. Anybody got things that you were planning on saying? How was your day?
Well,
we got Kevin
good
Dexter
evening.
and
we came out late anyways.
We can't even have a lemonade stand in this country, you know.
We don't have a business license.
We don't have a business license. The government's always sticking their fingers in things. It's like evil communism, you know. I'm tired of it.
What's that?
This isn't a legal establishment?
Oh, no,
I think I gotta go.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry to inform you, but we're under the gun and we're under the rule of law, apparently. And what we're doing is not allowed, even though it is absolutely 100% necessary. And
Are you saying this isn't a lemonade stand?
if lemonade is going to solve the opioid crisis, that's what we would have here.
That's what it is,
the government would probably not allow us to have it because they're really, by all of their actions and everything, all the moves that they've made over this term of several years that we've been doing this, has never been about what's actually good for people. That's never been a question that they've asked us about, never been a concern of theirs. Their concern is about interfering with the bottom line profits of the government stores, and that's basically it.
And they interfere with the net profits.
Or Trudeau not getting his cut. And that's about all it is.
Obviously, right?
So,
Yeah, we have
So
met.
you came down here and checked this out, though, right?
who?
Health Canada?
Health Canada's never been here. We saw a government van the other day. We thought maybe that's them. Maybe they're here.
Not only do they disrupt the profits for themselves, but they minimize them. They don't profit very much from their stores because they're run poorly, they're overpriced, and they have crappy products, you know? Like, it's insane, because they do this with tons of industries. I don't want to get into it because it might be a little political, but yeah, I won't get into it now.
So,
Good evening.
All right.
So Dexter, I don't know if you're aware, but there's two types of stores that have licenses from the government to sell cannabis. There's stores that are privately owned, and there's stores that are run by the government. So the government has a bunch of stores. They've got more stores than the privately owned ones, as far as I know. And they have several tactical advantages. Like they're using taxpayer dollars for their renovations and to pay their rent. That's one right off the top.
Well, they've done it with oil.
Yeah, and they do it with lots of different things. But yeah, that's so that the profits that are not being made are more by the privately owned stores than they are by the government stores. The government stores has an advantage where they're able to make more profits. But they're still making more profits than they should because their prices are still higher than they should be, and they would still do just fine if they readjusted the prices down to what they should be by taking out Trudeau's cut, by taking out the provincial cut, by taking out the municipal cut.
That they're all using to bust people like us.
Yeah, and by taking away all those regulations that require extremely expensive methods of producing cannabis that are not justified, that are not necessary, and could easily be, cannabis can easily be produced in large fields and large greenhouses that don't involve all those things. In any case, we've come to the end of the time that we have. Another show is in the books, and we're still not where we want to be, but with your help we can be. So make those phone calls, write those letters, do something, get involved, talk about it with your friends, make sure you understand, and make sure you're clear on what freedom is supposed to be, the right to do or not do whatever you want to do unless you're harming somebody else. Make sure you're clear on what the role of public servants is supposed to be in this so-called free country of democratically elected public servants.
Make sure that you do have.
And once you're up to speed on these things, I think you'll be upset like me, and you'll probably want to do something about it. And once you start doing something about it, well, your life will change, and likely for the good, and you'll at least be able to feel like you're doing something. So thank you for watching the show. I really appreciate all the people that tune in and have a listen to what we have to say here. I hope that you can go away with some truths and some hope, and maybe between all of us we can make some change happen in the world. Be kind to yourself and be kind to others while you do that. That's one of the most important things in life. People need kindness in this crazy, cruel world of ours. And when you're kind to somebody else, you're being kind to yourself. And the people that it's most difficult to be kind to are the ones that really need it as well. So do that. And the most important thing, as always, if you're here, such a short life, too serious to take too serious, what do? You have as much fun as you can. I'll see you next week.
Enjoy, friend.